Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. I'm George, and if I'm being honest, there's something I've never really been able to wrap my head around. It's a question that keeps bothering me every time I hear about relationships falling apart. And that question is this: why is it that people end relationships, but still leave their exes with continued access to their lives? I mean, think about it. When you break up with someone, isn't the point to cut ties, to stop everything that ties you to them? Why is it so common for people to still let their exes have a backdoor into their lives? Is it just me being old-fashioned, or I've got a different view on boundaries than most? It just doesn't sit right with me. You end things, but then you let the other person keep creeping in. It's almost like you never really left, and that messes with things. Well, I've got a story to tell you today about the mess that went down with my fiancée, Deborah, and how things unraveled in a way I never saw coming. And trust me, it's a story that made me think long and hard about this very issue. Now, before I get into the thick of it, I think it's important to give you some background on Deborah and me. See, I've known Deborah for a long time, long before we ever got together. Back then, she was in this pretty messed up relationship with a guy. I'll just call her ex. And when I say messed up, I mean the kind of relationship where you're constantly walking on eggshells, never really sure if you're going to get yelled at, hit, or ignored for something small. I saw everything unfold, even though I wasn't really involved. And, yeah, it wasn't easy to watch, but at the same time, I knew I couldn't just swoop in and tell her what to do. That wasn't my place. She had to make her own decision to get out, and I respected that. She wasn't stupid. She knew what was going on. She just had to find the strength to walk away, and that's something I couldn't force on her. I stayed in the background, always there when she needed someone to talk to. I wasn't looking for anything romantic back then. I just wanted to be someone she could rely on. Then, one day, she finally ended things with him. I remember how tough that was for her. It wasn't as easy as it might sound. I could see it in her eyes. She was broken, confused, and questioning her choices. But she did it. She pulled away from the abuse, and even though it was hard, I think it was the right thing to do. I stepped up for her, and I made sure she knew I was there. A few months later, after everything had settled a bit, I finally asked her out. And to my surprise, she said yes. Honestly, I wasn't sure how things would go after all she'd been through, but somehow we made it work. Our relationship grew really quickly. I think we both realized that we had something special, and perhaps we were both looking for something real after everything that happened. We started building our lives together, and after about a year and a half of dating, we got engaged. Yeah, it was quick, but it felt right. It felt like the next natural step. Once we got engaged, we decided it was time to move in together. Since we will practically live together anyway. And we figured it would make sense to start making that transition before the wedding. Honestly, those first few months of living together were some of the best times I've had. Everything felt so wholesome. We'd cook dinner together, binge-watch TV shows, take walks, just the simple stuff. We were building a life, and it felt good. So, I thought everything was perfect. But of course, things don't always stay perfect, right? You'll see what I mean as we go further into the story. One regular evening at home, I had misplaced my phone somewhere in the apartment. I checked the couch, the kitchen counter, and under the pillows. Nothing. So I picked up Deborah's phone to call mine, just to make it ring, so I could track it down. No big deal, right? As I tapped into the call log to dial my number, something caught my eye. Her ex's name sitting right there in the list. The call was recent, just a few days back. Out of all the people she could be talking to, this was the one person I thought we had both agreed was supposed to be in the past. I mean, this man used to hurt her. Not just arguments or disagreements, but actual abuse, emotional, physical. I lived through it with her as a friend. So, seeing his name as a caller wasn't something I loved to see. I tapped into the messages, still hoping maybe I was misunderstanding something. But no, they had been casually chatting. What made it worse was she had quietly let him slide back into her life. That didn't sit right with me. Not because I'm some jealous, controlling guy, but because I know how this stuff works. You don't keep doors open for people like that unless you're not done with them. So I walked into the bedroom where she was lying down, and I asked her straight up, "Why are you still talking to him?" She looked surprised at first, caught off guard that I had seen it. But she didn't lie. She said it was harmless, that they were just casually talking. "It's nothing," she said. "He was just checking in." I told her plainly, "It makes me uncomfortable. You told me you were done with him. You told me he was a chapter you were never going back to." She saw I was serious. I just wanted to be heard and understood. That's when she said, "Okay, if it makes you feel better, I'll cut off all communication with him. I don't want this to come between us." That gave me some peace. I believed her. I thought, all right, maybe it really was nothing, and now that she knows how I feel, she'll put up the boundary. And I let it go. I felt we were good. But I didn't know it yet, but that was just the beginning. After our conversation about her ex, I felt like things were finally settling down. But over time, I started noticing Deborah, who used to be pretty relaxed with her phone, changed. Suddenly, she never left it behind. No matter where she went, the phone was with her. If she went to the bathroom, it was in her hand. If she was doing laundry, the phone was tucked in her back pocket. Even when she was just going to the other room to get something, she made sure it stayed with her. I brushed it off. We live in a time where everyone's glued to their devices. But it made me start to watch more closely, even though I didn't want to. One day, I decided to head home during my lunch break to grab a hard drive I had forgotten that morning. I had left for work earlier than usual because I had a couple of things to sort out at the office. This hard drive had some files I needed for a meeting later in the day. Normally, I called Deborah to let her know I was coming by, just out of courtesy. But this time, I didn't bother. I figured I'd just run in, grab it, and head back out. No need to make a big deal out of it. I got home, grabbed the drive, and was about to head out again when I thought, you know what? I could really use a cup of coffee. There's this small cafe just a few blocks from our place. I drove there, parked, and walked in like I always did, nodding to the girl behind the counter and ordering my regular. I waited a few minutes, got my drink, thanked her, and turned to leave. There, in the corner of the cafe, sat Deborah and her ex. For a moment, I didn't even register what I was seeing. They were lost in their conversation. They hadn't seen me yet. I walked over to their table, looked directly at her, and said, "Don't come home." She stared at me like I had just spoken a different language. Her mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. I turned around and walked straight out of that place, got into my car, and drove off. The rest of the day, I don't even remember how it went. I was there, but I wasn't really there. When I walked into the house later that evening, Deborah was already home. She was sitting on the couch. As soon as she saw me, she stood up and started talking. She said her ex was dealing with some personal issues, that he had reached out and needed someone to talk to. She claimed she was just trying to be supportive. Said it was all platonic, nothing more. She made it sound like it was some kind of good deed, like I was supposed to be proud of her for being there for a man she swore she'd cut off. I didn't interrupt her. I let her say everything she wanted to say. Then I asked the only question that mattered. "Didn't you promise me you were done talking to him?" She hesitated. That pause told me everything, before her mouth could even form the word yes. I looked her in the eye and asked again, "So what are you doing with him now?" She opened her mouth and started fumbling through another explanation. I didn't need to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. To me, it was simple. You don't keep back doors open in a relationship and call it commitment. I told her exactly how I felt. "If you can't get over him," I said, "then it's risky for me to keep investing in you, knowing that he still has a link to you, emotionally, privately, and secretly." Her face twisted like she didn't understand what I meant, but deep down I know she did. She just didn't expect me to say it out loud. I told her straight, "Go be with him, since he needs you so badly." She broke down right there. Said she didn't mean to hurt me. Said she didn't know how to explain it. She begged me not to end things. Kept saying this wasn't what it looked like. But my mind was already gone. I told her to go pack her things. I wasn't going to fight for a place in someone's life where I was supposed to be the only one. She stood there, tears in her eyes, expecting me to change my mind. I didn't. And when it finally sank in that I meant every word, she packed a few bags and left. She went to her parents' house. I think, in her mind, she believed this was temporary. that a few days apart would calm me down, that I'd realize I overreacted. But the thing is, I wasn't reacting out of emotion. I was responding to a decision she already made the moment she chose to meet him again. After I told her to leave, I thought she'd take the hint and come get her things. But 2 days passed and nothing happened. I waited those 2 days because part of me wanted to believe she'd respect what I said and handle things like an adult. But when I saw that wasn't happening, I decided to end it properly, on my own terms. So I called her and told her to come over. And she came. I guess in her head, this was the moment where I was finally going to be reasonable or see the bigger picture, or whatever story she had told herself. But when she got to the door and saw all her stuff packed neatly and left outside, it finally hit her. This was the end. She started calling, but I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. A few minutes later, the messages started coming in, trying to hurt me the way she was hurting. She called me insecure, said I was controlling, said I couldn't handle a strong woman. And then she hit me with the classic one, told me her ex was better than me. I read the messages, but I didn't get angry. I just sent one reply, go be with him. And that was it. Sometimes, the most peaceful thing you can do is walk away and never turn around. After everything that happened, I had time to sit with myself and really think. Not just about Deborah, but about everything. Let me be honest with you. I felt two things at once, sadness and relief. Sadness because I really wanted this to work. I saw a future with her. I was committed. I was all in. But I also felt relief because I finally saw things for what they were, not what I hoped they would be. So I processed everything and came away with some hard lessons I think anyone can learn from, whether you're dating, engaged, or already married. First lesson: trust is the foundation of any relationship. Once that trust is broken, it's like trying to tape a broken mirror back together. You might line up the pieces, but you'll still see the cracks. And you'll keep cutting yourself on the same spots over and over again. I loved Deborah. But when she lied about cutting contact with her ex and kept meeting him behind my back, that trust died. And after that, the love didn't matter anymore. Second, set boundaries early. If something doesn't sit right with you, say it. Don't wait and hope it'll go away. I should have drawn a firm line the moment I saw her messaging him. Instead, I gave her a chance to correct it, thinking love would make her do the right thing. Big mistake. If I had been clear from the jump that this was a deal breaker, maybe things would have ended sooner. Or maybe she would have made a different choice. Either way, speak up early. Third, actions speak louder than words. Don't fall for sweet talk. Don't get caught up in promises. Watch what they do. Deborah promised to cut him off. She said it was over. But then she turned around and kept meeting with him, like her word meant nothing. That moment taught me that anyone can say what you want to hear, but their actions will always show you the truth. Pay attention to the actions, not just the apologies. Fourth, emotional independence matters. You can't build a future with someone who's still emotionally connected to their past. That's like trying to run a race while someone's holding your ankle. You won't get far. Deborah may have left her ex physically, but mentally and emotionally, she never let go. And that made our relationship feel like it always had a third person in it. There's no room for an ex in the future you're trying to build. Fifth and final, sometimes you just have to walk away. And yeah, it hurts. But dragging out something that's already dead inside, that hurts more. I didn't want to let go, but staying would have meant losing myself in the process. That wasn't a trade I was willing to make. So that's my story. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my situation? Do you think I overreacted? Should I have given her another chance? Or did I make the right call? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take on it. And I'll leave you with this. Relationships aren't always easy, but they are a choice. You choose to trust. You choose to protect that trust. And if someone chooses to break it, then sometimes the only choice you have left is to walk away.